Call the meeting to order.
Dr. Deegan, would you like to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes, and tonight we're going to have Victoria Zapata from Lawton High lead us. Victoria?
So pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Call the roll, please.
Mr. Sharon?
Here.
Dr. Bridges?
Here.
Mr. Jester?
Here.
Ms. Clodfelter? Here. Ms. John? Colonel Curtis?
Here. We have a special recognition this evening, but Miss John is delayed from Oklahoma City, so could we move item A, I guess, around a little bit until she gets here?
Yes. We'll do item B on special guests, and we have the Martin Luther King essay winners. Now, I know I have Victoria here. Do I have Brooke or Julissa here yet? No? Okay. So Victoria, you'll be first. And so, we asked you to read a small section, but since, it's all yours, you can read as much as you want. How about that?
A few months ago, our phone rang. It was a call from the Department of Human Services. My parents were asked if they would take in a 6-year-old boy who had been abandoned by his family. We are used to this type of call because for roughly 4 years now, my parents and my 2 other siblings and I have opened our home to foster children. As the foster children have come and gone, I've noticed that we've become the fulfillment of those children's dreams. In our state of Oklahoma, there are roughly 11,000 children in state custody, and my family and other families like ours are attacking those suppressing numbers with spirit and vigor. The children who are old enough to hate actually do so in their own little ways. They hate the instability, the uncertainty, the sense of loss and abandonment. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Hate cannot drive out hate, only love can do that." That's why my dream for America is that more of these lost children enter the lives of stable and nourishing families, and that when they enter such families, the love that they have experienced has extinguished the hate, repaired the broken hearts, brought smiles to the faces, engendered a sense of being special, and lightened up the way to a better future. Our sunlight for the little boy was important for him. Many days with him were stormy and dark, but we frequently saw our sunlight bring out a smile. As Martin Luther King Jr. once said, "Darkness cannot drive out darkness, only love can do that." I remember, for example, one dark day Connor was having because his grandfather hadn't shown up for a scheduled visit. He began to cry and throw toys, and then he threatened to harm himself. I walked up to him, knelt down in front of him, and asked him if he would like a hug. He looked down at his feet, and I saw a little smile start to appear on his face, and his tears disappeared. He never answered my question, but his smile was enough to make me take a few steps forward and embrace him. That's the way it was from the moment our home became his home. Many long, dark valleys of discontent and emotional pain, but some unforgettable peaks of light. He needed a family like ours, and we answered the call. As we continue to change the lives of the children we volunteer to care for and nurture, my family and I are following Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s path to a nation filled with peace and love. As each lost child steps into our home, they receive unconditional light and love to extinguish the hate, repair their little broken hearts, and bring smiles to their faces while making them feel as special as they truly are.
Thank you, Victoria. And if you, of course, you are welcome to leave, or you're welcome to hang out. You've been here before. You already know the rules. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you. And we can still come back to number 4 if you wanted to.
Okay, yes, so then she's not here yet, so we'll go to your departmental report. If you have one, do you have one?
I just have, not under departmental report.
Okay,
no departmental.
now on to your report.
Under the report of the superintendent, I have 3 items. Item A is consideration and action regarding a resolution to determine the maturities of and setting a date, time, and place for the sale of $4,470,000 general obligation combined purpose bonds of the district. And the date we're looking at is Wednesday, March 8th at noon. Wednesday, March 8th at noon is the recommended time.
I move for approval.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Ms. John? Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Sherm?
Yes.
Now, there's an addendum for an item C, and just for the sake of poor Kathy, I'm just going to go in order. Under information item, I just have my superintendent's announcements. I kept it short today, since we have a lot of business. These are actually pictures that the communications department, and these are not all the pictures they have of teachers with what they spent their first $100 on, that the board approved for them in the fall. And right now, purchasing department is busily trying to process the $250 that the McMahon Foundation gave them. And so I thought that was a really kind of a picture update. I think that's probably the coolest thing we could have seen tonight, so. Under item C, now, Ms. John had requested this. Mr. Sherm, would you like to do the consent agenda first, or you want to just?
Do you want her to be here for that?
She requested it be on
Okay.
the agenda.
All right. Well, we can-
The last board meeting.
Sure, I understand. We can go to the consent agenda. Does anybody need anything removed from the consent agenda?
We're going to keep you hopping, Kathy.
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda.
Second.
Call the roll, please.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Mr. Sherm?
Yes. Okay. I don't think that shaved it any time, so we'll go back, I guess, to that. We'll just start there.
All right. Under the consent agenda, the board, and just to give everybody a kind of update, a couple weeks ago, the board met individually with board members just to kind of review. It had been so long since we talked about the bond. Dr. Pierce had come in a presentation not very long ago about what she had found out from the community. So I had individual board member meetings, and we just kind of reviewed everything. And so we want to kind of take a quick review of what we had talked about. And so this is kind of a preliminary bond progress and update. Give an idea give an opportunity to update the public, see where we are, and see where we're going. One thing we talked about was the process. The first thing started with meetings with principals, on-site meetings with staff, after-school parent meetings. All of those were either performed by me. We had Shoemaker staff doing those things, and then we had Dr. Pierce come in and do basically the same exact thing. And the purpose for Dr. Pierce coming in was to hear people and to report back to us so we could make sure whether or not we heard everybody correctly. You gotta make the circle 3 or 4 times to make sure you're hearing everybody. And from that, I believe the board and the community, we had also an online poll that was on our website. From those things, it's pretty clear that the board and community, from Dr. Pierce's information, I think everybody has identified pretty much the same priorities. Now, that does not mean we're finished working through. I think we'll have to go around that circle several more times before we can finalize anything. But here's what came out of those discussions and that data that Dr. Pierce created and what we identified from the data, from the polls, et cetera. Number one issue in the district is classroom support. If we have a bond, that was the number one thing that people requested: instructional technology, supplies, materials, software, and equipment. I think that is universal from parents to teachers. That's what Dr. Pierce heard, that's what we've been hearing, that's what the polls indicate. That is overwhelmingly the number one need in the district, and I wholeheartedly agree. The number 2 thing was facility support, and we're talking about improvements, additions, and or upgrades to sites, and of course replacement at Eisenhower Middle School, which is the issue that caused this discussion to start about 18 months ago. And for people that ask, yes, we do measure the cracks on a regular basis. Mr. Ledford's crew gives me an update about once every 9 weeks or once every quarter. So we know the building is safe, we've just got to decide what we're going to do with it. And then the last thing, which kind of, it wasn't something I expected to receive or hear, but the next thing that emerged was tornado shelters. And so those are the 3 priorities. They're all about safety, classroom support, and getting the best facilities we can for our students. One thing that we talked about is where are we on our remaining projects from the leftover bond? If everybody remembers, we had some 2004 bond. It was a 10-year bond. Not all the projects got finished. I think some decisions were made because the district had an understanding that there was going to be a lot of move-in from the BRAC in 2005, 2006. didn't happen. We built some wings on Eisenhower High School, built a wing, redid the cafeteria, built some wings on some elementary schools in the district. But when we got to 2014, there were some projects that were left open. Since then, the board has done a tremendous job. We don't have any of the security measures that were identified. We have completed all those. The central heating and air conditioning at 25 schools, the only ones that we have left from that are John Adams, Lincoln, Woodland Hills Elementary School, Eisenhower Middle School, which is a kind of a moot point depending on how you look at it, and MacArthur Middle School. We have not done those, and we do have Lincoln Elementary is the one we are targeting next. So we're going to engage the architect to get Lincoln Elementary, it's a historic building, and that's kind of the next on the list for that bond project. They need HVAC. The window units are from 1983 and they're very loud. The next thing is roofs at 29 schools. 29 schools sounds like a lot of roofs, and the only ones left are John Adams, Carriage Hills, Edison Tomlinson Middle School, Lawton High School, and that one is partially finished. And we have actually the funds set aside, ready to go once we make a decision on the bond. So in the last few years, we've finished a lot of stuff that was left over. Of course, the previous 10 years, the district accomplished a tremendous amount as well. So this has been an ongoing project, and I think it speaks well to what the board has done in the last couple of years. We also had some issues that are out there, and we're not sure how to handle them, but construction of gymnasiums. Still some gymnasiums that are needed. Needed improvements at Lawton High School, and we don't have any remaining on that list. Eisenhower High School, the parking lot didn't get finished. MacArthur High School is an addition to the cafeteria, and we believe we're going to engage the architect to look at that renovation for us after one of the next projects, after probably Lincoln Elementary School gets its HVAC. And then classroom additions at 4 schools. All of those were completed. So I can say that the board, it took longer, we had some bumps, but we're on target, on track to be able to finish all of the leftover bond projects. The big problems, the big challenges are going to be the elementary school gymnasiums. Progress on the 2014 bond, that was the one voted in 2014, obviously. And I marked them out, it's probably not the best format, but MacArthur Middle School roof has been finished, the Hugh Bish HVAC has been finished, the Whittier HVAC has been finished. Classroom technology and classroom laptops, and for the support staff, has been ordered. Mr. Rice and his team have been just incredibly busy. Band and orchestra equipment for round 1. We do plan to do another round of band and orchestra equipment coming up. Ms. Brinstedter's already working on the budget, sharpening her pencil. If you remember, about half would go to facility needs and half to equipment. That half is finishing up those old projects. That's where we got Whittier, Hugh Bish, et cetera. The leftover projects from 2004 will be a priority. And then on buses, we've purchased a total of over 50. I think we're at 55 right now, and that includes minivans and minibuses that the district has purchased. So seeing where we started from, that's a tremendous amount of progress in just 3 years. Progress on the 2014 sales tax proposal. I did this a little bit differently. They're in bold. Window upgrades and replacements. Eisenhower High School is about 90% complete. We've done, matter of fact, Miss Oates and the maintenance crew, Mr. Smith and Mr. Ledford, did a walkthrough last week or the week before. Lawton High School and Douglas architect plans are ready to go, but we're going to go ahead and get MacArthur High School on the plan and probably hit our 3 main high schools first as a priority, put Douglas as the 4th priority on this list. Security systems in secondary schools are all installed, but we have not fine-tuned them. We're still figuring out how to get them to work in the high schools. It's a big challenge to get all those doors working. We're waiting on the engineer to bid the fencing and the barriers to give us actual measurements. And all of the playgrounds for the elementary schools are either been installed or have been out to bid. So they've done an incredible job getting those done. Facility upgrades, we've done some small things, and on district vehicles, we've got police cars, lift truck maintenance vehicles, delivery vans, all purchased. And then there's some other unexpected issues that we did. Custodial maintenance equipment, backup generator, they're just now installing for the technology center. We learned that our phones will go out if we don't have a backup generator, and nobody can get a hold of us. $1.2 million in textbooks is ready to go. The principals are working on that with the curriculum staff. The support staff computers all replaced. A lot of small projects and items, and the instructional site bond committees have spent $800,000 at the sites and another $250,000 that they're working on facilities. And then, of course, one of the big things for the district is Freedom Elementary. And so that's kind of in a nutshell of where we are, where we've come from. And I'll just leave that now to the board to have any discussion and thoughts on where we'd like to go and if we need another special meeting or, it's just an opportunity to just discuss.
Should we set a bond date, a bond issue date? I mean, we're obviously going to have some more meetings to spell out exactly what the bond issue is going to look like. But I feel like we're to the point where we can set a date.
I agree. I agree we could at least set a target, we're going to shoot for this window period, because once we know as a staff and a community that we're shooting for this at X number of months down the road, I think we can really start to put some meat on these bones. So I think it would be a helpful issue for the district to kind of have a target.
Well, in that target, not just a date, we also need to probably set an amount of how much we're going to be asking for, and with that, a good definition, just kind of like what slide 1 showed, exactly what that would be going with. In fact, you had 3, the first one that shows you the needs based on that, and so I think that kind of sums up exactly what we'd be looking forward to, and then what kind of money are we talking about to get some of those things, the majority of those things, all of those things.
So Eric, do you think that we need to have all of that settled before we set the date?
Oh, yeah, I think that, yeah.
That'll require some more meetings.
Well, at least, and we can expedite this pretty quick, I think.
So,
Well, I don't know, does the cart come before the horse? We can make the date and then come back and, because we already know we're going to do this. So I think the question is, okay, now here's a date, and then I think we can set a date, and then you can come back and say,
I think we
okay.
know an approximate amount. I think we just
Right.
haven't really fine-tuned it.
haven't fine-tuned it completely. But we do realize that, we want to set a date for early fall is what I was considering, was the most likely, the one that would give us enough time to get things.
Well, you did have that list that you showed us, I'm sorry, do you have that list that shows you all because there's only dates that we can only work with, which is, the state will allow.
What was a good one? October.
Okay.
Yes,
I don't know if he has, remember that one that showed us the potential?
It was October.
October 8th.
It's not like, I think it's an educational process for people to understand in the public that we just don't pick a date. We have to pick a date that's based on what is allowed, and so the state will only allow us,
And this, I can copy and paste it and get it up on the screen if you want to see it. The
that'd be
possible
fine.
dates of a bond election. Let me go
Yeah.
in the fall. Let me go ahead and get that up there on the screen. That's the handy part of having the computer. Those would be the possible dates. Sorry, it's not any bigger. May 9th, September 12th, October 10th, and November 14th. And, maybe the board just says, we're going to shoot for, we're going to set a timeline that we're going to have this done in early fall, and that gives us a few months to actually pick an exact date. But I think having a timeline and a general area for the staff and the community, we've got a tremendous amount of work to do.
So we could say like, we'll shoot for a bond in the fall.
I think that would be appropriate, and I think that's what Ms. John,
it only eliminates 1 month. Cut down the suspense, okay, we're not doing May.
and I can think of the staff, the amount of time it takes, we already have preliminary work with some architects. We have a tornado survey of every building. That's something Mr. Ledford and Mr. Smith have done both of those issues. We have a tremendous amount of data, but once we actually have a target date, then we can really start engaging people.
With the tornado stuff, by the way, you did inform us that not all buildings are, some already have those measures in place. So it's not like every school would have to have one. Some of them already have them currently.
Yeah.
Like even this building has one.
Right.
We have a basement here.
Right. Freedom's a good example.
Yeah.
Some of the schools have full basements, some of them don't. So, and that's just kind of the discussion.
So do we have to take
Yeah, so are we taking action that we're doing a full date, or are we picking a date? That's what I'm asking, is, that's,
I'd like to make a motion that we set a target of early next fall, or early fall 2017 for a bond election.
Second.
is that good enough? I mean, is that suffice? We don't have to say a specific date. Okay, and call the roll, please.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, three of those dates would qualify within that motion.
Yes. Okay. We eliminated one. That's off the calendar. We can not sweat out May. All right. Okay.
Very specific.
Thank you very much for that. In addition to it, because I think it's, I always like to overemphasize, not only do we do a great job of replacing the buses, which is a huge thing in a lot of communities, always, of course, with bond issues, you have to separate the two. You can't kind of hold one hostage by saying, we need new buses, so you got to vote for everything. So buses are always separate, and we have really increased the fleet, replaced the fleet, and then in addition to that, got 4 activities buses, which I'm very proud of, that, in our community, that our kids can, really take pride in the fact that when we do go out of town, we get something nice, something to show for it, and something that reflects our community as well. So and then with the McMahon Foundation helping us with one of those in addition to that, so I think that was good. And I think what the public wants to see from us, are we good stewards of the money, of what we, and that's why I think it's good to review, because a lot of times you forget what we've done with those past bond issues, and so I think it was good that Ms. John asked for a review of that to kind of, as I was taught many years ago, if you don't, if you're in certain businesses, if you don't toot your own horn, if you're waiting for someone else to do it, they're not going to do it. So at some point, I think the Army understands that too, you gotta sometimes do that. So I think that was good for us to review those. I appreciate that.
Well, and then speaking as a board member, but also as a member of the community, it's really awesome to see those buses around town. Really is.
And the new windows. I would never have thought new windows would do such a, and I can't wait for the other 2 to get it, but if you've not driven past Eisenhower to say, do we build a new school out there? Say, no, it's just with the new windows. That's good.
Now, when Ms. Johns now, Mr. Wade, we can come back to item,
It's her recognition for her.
item B at any time.
Okay, at any time? Okay. We just don't want to scrap it. I think we delayed the horse as long as we can.
I just have a room full of witnesses. She wanted to make sure before she left office that we established the timeline for the bonds.
All right, so we got
Back
that.
me up on that.
All right.
Item 8, I think, would be the next thing.
Okay, do we have any proposed executive session to discuss?
No, I have no,
Okay.
none needed, see none needed.
All right, on to your personnel report.
Under item 12, under the superintendent's personnel report and items discussed in executive session, we have the vote to approve the employing, promoting, disciplining, or receiving resignations of individuals certified to support salaried personnel listed on pages 90 through 91.
Move for approval. Second.
Call the roll, please.
Dr. Bridges?
Yes.
Mr. Jester?
Yes.
Ms. Clodfelter?
Yes.
Mr. Sharon?
Yes. Item 13, consideration of new business.
I have none.
Okay. Next regular board meeting date is scheduled for Thursday, February 16th, 5 p.m. here at Shoemaker Auditorium. Any special board meeting date scheduled, I guess, for Wednesday, March 8th, which was voted on, I guess, at 12 p.m. Consideration action, any other board meeting dates?
I know of.
Don't forget 4 o'clock on our next meeting in February. 4 o'clock.
Well, we
4
started
o'clock,
an
yeah,
hour
for a
early.
training? Okay, yes. Thank you. 4 o'clock for training. Look at that, that's perfect timing. We drug our feet as long as we could.
We ran out.
No, that's okay, we understand.
24.
Okay, before we go to board announcements, we'll go back up to our other item A of section 4, recognition of Miss Helena John and appreciation of her years to the board. You're going to go to the podium?
I'll let you hand this out. I'll hand it to you. It's the only thing we give you as a board member.
Okay. I'll take it proudly.
You want me to, let me do it right, okay, all right.
Thank you.
You get to speak to the board, you get to share your final thoughts, and they get to brag on you.
Well, I just want to say thank you. Actually, it was my pleasure to serve, and 10 years is a long time, but I appreciate it very much. I enjoy the staff here at Lawton Public Schools very much, and so thank you. That's it.
The board set a timeline for early fall for a bond election. That was one of the things you
I'm so excited.
asked to be put on the agenda, so.
That's good. Good deal.
Any board members?
I will say that, it was, of course, very good having you here and someone that I could call on and talk to, especially when I came on and you had some experience and your passion and compassion for this district, and I think that I really like serving on a board where in fact, I can speak for every one of us, have the best intentions for, and I think you have to be because, it's a volunteer, and you have to run or have an election, and sometimes you've had that, you either get unopposed or you have an election, and so with that is the seriousness of what you put behind it. So it's not just like, someone just saying, well, I'm on a board. I mean, you took your position seriously to say, I want to be effective and I want to make a difference for our district and our kids. And so I appreciate that because that's the right motives why anybody should serve on a board like this. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. Absolutely.
I really appreciate your passion. And 10 years of service, phenomenal. I hope the heck you find a job that pays better, though. I wish you all the best.
Thank you so
I feel
much.
like you were my mentor as I came on. I knew nothing about any of this, and you were available for any time I'll cry. So, I miss
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
I would break it if I didn't have the bag.
Thank you.
I don't know what you can do with all this.
Any other board announcements?
Yes.
Yes? Yes.
I just want to congratulate Eisenhower High School for being the state school of character. That's a big deal, and I know they worked really hard on that. And to be recognized as one of the few schools in the state that's very impressive.
Here, here.
The other issue is tonight, Lawton Public School Foundation is having, if you go to Solace's and say you're with the LPSF, a certain percentage goes to LPSF. And since we know that they fund a lot of things for our teachers and for our district, if anyone hasn't cooked dinner tonight or is going to be out in time, before 8 o'clock, head over and just tell them that you're with Lawton Public School Foundation.
Very good. Any other board announcements? At this time, I guess we'll recess.